Live from the Average Joe Nation studios in St. Clair, Missouri. This is the Average Joe Podcast, a show that proves that in this crazy world, a combination of common sense and a C-plus average is actually a superpower. Sure, he's crazy, but what if he's right? Please welcome your host, Damon Gilbert.
Okay, and the title of today's segment is called Rogan Should Go Rogue. Now, what I want to talk about here is I'm sure you're aware of what's going on right now on the Joe Rogan show. He is, well, first of all, and if you're not aware of this, you've been living under a rock or something, because this guy is just the end-all, be-all to podcasts. How he got this job, I don't know. He's really good at what he does. He's a comedian from, actually, and he's been a spokesman for the mixed martial arts. Actually, I think he started out on a show called News Network. If you don't remember that, you need to look it up. It was a pretty good show. They had Hartman on it, guy from Saturday Night Live, the one whose wife killed him. Anyway, it was good. He had a bit part in it. He was the engineer. It wasn't bad. It was a decent show, but he's a good. He does a really good job. I've never listened to one of his shows all the way through. I don't listen to that kind of stuff. He has a great wide variety of people he has on his show. He goes from anywhere from cardiologists to second tier comedians that he knows, to politicians, to religious individuals, pastors, things like that. It's really kind of cool. And don't get me wrong, Joe seems like a really nice guy, and he talks about dope and getting high and things like that, which is fine. It's interesting to some degree, but it's hard for me to listen to something for 3 hours straight. And Joe, he doesn't do a lot of his own. He just doesn't talk a lot on his own. He's usually interviewing someone, which is great. And the nice thing is, he allows people to go into depth about things, which is really interesting. I think it's one of the main attractions to Joe Rogan is the fact that he takes this particular subject and he dives into it with someone who's knowledgeable about it. It gets into the nitty-gritty, gets down deep into the subject rather than a 30-second soundbite that NBC does about a particular story. They get down, they dig down deep, and I think that's really cool. And he is a good listener, I will say that. And I like Joe Rogan. I mean, if I had the time, I'd listen to him all the time. Now, I did listen to him one time. I will take that back, when he had Alex Jones on there. Alex Jones is the owner and the CEO of InfoWars, which, if you don't know that name too, you need to look it up. He's considered one of the all-time conspiracy theorists of all time. The funny thing is, he's usually 100% correct. It may be a little early. He's usually ahead of the curve, and we find out later that what he was saying was actually true, be it about fluoride in the water to 9/11. I mean, his biggest downfall was bringing up some subjects about Sandy Hook and the mass shooting in Sandy Hook that got him into trouble. Not that I disagreed with him. There were crisis actors there. Whether or not what took place, we'll never know, probably. But at the end of the day, back to Rogan. Okay, so what happens is Rogan brings on some people on his show that talk about COVID, and they're going against the narrative. They had Robert Malone on there, and I believe his name is Anthony McCullough, one of the world-renowned cardiologists, both of them taking a different view from CNN and the White House and the narrative alone, that maybe this isn't going the way we want it to, or the way it should, and maybe there's some shenanigans going on here. Well, the mainstream media didn't like that, and the narrative has been kind of destroyed. If you listen to those shows, which I listen to parts of them, these guys are knowledgeable. These aren't idiots that are talking about this. So at the end of the day, Rogan, he was controversial. He knew when he brought these people on there was going to be controversy. Now, here's the problem. So basically, they're wanting him canceled. The cancel culture, the pink-haired idiots, are going after him. because Howard Stern, who 20 years ago they would have tried, if everything was the same, would be trying to cancel him for talking about sex and all kinds of stuff. But Howard's made the turn. He's danced with what's her name, the little blonde on Ellen, and we've made that transition. So Howard Stern, he's a pro-vaxxer. Oh my God, you're all going to die. Who cares about you? You shouldn't get medical treatment. Yada yada yada. The guy's an idiot. I can't stand Howard Stern. Comparing Howard Stern to Joe Rogan is like it's comparing a Volkswagen to a Maserati. There's no comparison whatsoever. Howard Stern is a loser, somebody that should have been off the air years ago. I don't know why anybody listens to this guy, but nonetheless, so they're going after Rogan right now, and I think they're probably going to pull it off. And unfortunately, he's already starting to cave slightly. All right, he made what I considered looked like a hostage video over the weekend, where he apologized, not so much for having those people on, but for, he said he's admitting that he's been wrong before, okay, and that he's going to try and do better, and that he's probably going to attempt to have people on with the opposing view, so that they can share their insight into these things. And I don't know about you guys, but that's a big mistake. That's a huge mistake. That's not why you have 11 million followers, 11 million people that listen to you. They do not want you to give an inch. I know I don't. There should be no apologies. Stand by what you said. Own it. That's the way I say it. Own it. Chappelle did that. He said, cancel me anytime you want. He's standing in front of 18,000 people in an auditorium that's packed. Okay? This is after they went after him. So be my guest. Go ahead and cancel me. Don't be a cuck. Don't give an inch, Joe. Don't do it. Stand your ground. Say, I'm going to do what I want. This is how I got to where I'm at. Not by compromising. You don't do this when you compromise. And as far as I'm concerned, he's been offered. Well, back to what I was. Dwayne Johnson's another one. The Rock. What a coward. First of all, he pats Joe on the back and says, "Hey, I agree with what you said." And then they start going after him, and he says he sees dollar signs going down the toilet, and he's like, "Oh, on second thought, he used the N-word in a stand-up routine, so I'm going to distance myself from him." What a coward. I will never, ever have any respect for Dwayne Johnson from this day forward. That guy is a cuck. He is a loser, and I am sick of that kind of, I'm just sick of people cucking to these people. Don't do it. You got more money than God. What do you care? Right? I don't see the problem. So Joe's been offered this contract with Rumble, $100 million to come over, an exclusivity with Rumble, which I think is a great idea. They're saying, hey, here's an idea. Why don't you have Trump on? Have Trump on for a couple hours. Talk about things. I'm telling you, troll these pink-haired idiots and this woke culture. They'll go nuts. Okay, because I think that's the thing to do. I think you should walk away from this contract. Now it's going to cost you some money. There's no doubt about it. Because they're already caving somewhat. They're taking 200 episodes off of his show off their platform, but trying to appease this group that you cannot appease. It can't be done. When he started this thing, Spotify told him, he said, "You're going to have a free voice. You're going to do whatever. You can say whatever you want. We don't care." And now Rogan's constantly in the news. Okay, why not use that exclusivity that you've got with him and promote it? And forget about these 70s B-list actors, right? Neil Young, but tell him to take his 12 people that are fans of his and go away. And anybody else that wants to, pull them off there. You've got a star here on there. Spotify's got a star. And if they don't take him, I think Rumble will. Now, of course, if he does that, if he does leave, it's probably going to cost him quite a bit of money. I'm sure there's a fine of some kind involved where, if you, of course, I don't know, they may have violated their contract. I mean, there are smarter people out there to check that out than me. But at the end of the day, I think what he should do is walk away. That's what I would do. And I know I'm not trying to compare myself to Joe Rogan because I do this little podcast. That's not the point. The point